Meta wants access to your camera roll. You might say yes, but you may not know why you said yes. Trump Mobile, is that T1 phone really being made in America? Mixed messages. And Trump is ending trade talks with Canada over a digital services tax. Let's see how it all plays out. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Bernie Uche, and once again, I'm in a tech state of mind. And this intro could have gone very differently. I decided for once, because I've been at Toronto Tech Week and we've been talking about AI for all the sessions I've been in, to try letting AI do something that people are considering to be a mundane task these days. And that is writing your scripts for YouTube and whatever else. So I said, ChatGPT, write me an intro to a podcast that will talk about these three topics, okay? And we'll talk about what those three topics are, but I just wanted to read to you what ChatGPT came up with as an intro for this video. What's good, fam? Welcome back to Tech State of Mind. I'm Bernie Uche, and this is the team. Your no BS breakdown of the tech headlines that have everyone side-eyeing their screens. Today's stories are wild. Meta wants access to your camera roll, Trump's Made in America phone quietly edits its claims, and the US is stirring up trade drama with Canada again. Let's sip. I don't think that sounds like me, but let's get into these stories. So story number one is about Meta, written by Sarah Perez, comes to us from TechCrunch. Headline is, Facebook is asking to use Meta AI on photos in your camera roll you haven't shared yet. Now, this seems kind of wild to me, but what are we saying here? It's saying that photos that you haven't yet actually shared with Meta via Facebook, Meta is going to have the ability, if you agree to it, but you don't actually fully know what you're agreeing to, as per usual, to go through your camera roll and make AI-based suggestions. So there's a prompt that will show up on Instagram and Facebook that'll ask you to let Meta AI analyze your private pictures so it can help you search and organize later. Sounds kind of helpful, sure, but the idea is that it will start creating all these new AI edits for you and maybe vacation trip summaries and whatever else, suggest them to you, and then you can post them. Now, this sounds like fun or whatever, and they suggest that these images and these videos and these real-like videos are going to be exclusive to you and private, and no one else is going to be able to access them and all that good stuff. But there's a problem, okay? And the problem is, by tapping allow, you are agreeing to Meta's AI terms of service. This allows your media and facial features to be analyzed by AI. The company will additionally use the date and presence of people or objects in your photos to craft its creative ideas. So, while we think this is a privacy concern and they'll say, well, you have to opt in, sure, you may not fully understand the breadth of what you're opting into. And just simply opting into it can allow this egregious infiltration of your privacy and others' privacy as well by just being in your photos, potentially. And this could have unintended consequences down the line that we really need to be careful about. The article further says this about Meta's AI terms. The same AI terms also give Meta's AI the right to retain and use any personal information you shared in order to personalize its AI outputs. The company notes it can review your interactions with its AI, including conversations, and those reviews may be conducted by humans. The terms don't define what Meta considers personal information beyond saying it concludes information you submit as prompts, feedback, or other content. Now, this is a little concerning to me. Again, they will say that you opted in, but we need to fully understand what we're opting into as people. Some of these photos might include your children if you're parents and have children, and those children cannot opt into those things. You have to be responsible for them. So we need to be really, really, really careful about what we put on here. If you have pictures of your kids on Facebook or Instagram, sure, that's fine. What I'm saying is allowing them to process these images and use them to develop new features and whatever else. It's a choice for you to make. Just know what you're getting into. And I don't think a lot of the time we do understand what we're getting into. So the second story I'll talk about is brought to us by CNN. And I know this is going to be controversial considering the name that this story attaches to itself, and that is Donald Trump and his Trump Mobile initiative that's driven by his sons. Okay. When this first came out that the Trump organization is releasing a phone that called the T1 that will be made in the USA, there were a lot of skeptics that a phone that would cost $499 with some of the specs that were detailed about the phone could possibly be built in America, because no phone built for mainstream consumption is really built in America. And the Trump organization has revised some of the language as part of their press release. So before big and bold, they said made in USA. Now, that language made in the USA has been dropped from their promotional materials. What they now say as of June 25th is the T1 8002 or 8002 phone was designed with American values in mind. Okay? So designed with American values in mind. Now let's think about Apple, okay, who have economies of scale vastly superior to anything that Trump Mobile is going to be capable of. They say designed in California. That's what they say, that their products are designed in California, which is absolutely true, but they are not built here. Oh, well, not here. I don't live in California. I live in Canada, but California might as well be Canada as far as I'm concerned, but that's a whole nother story. Canada's a sovereign country. Yay. Okay. But they say designed in California, made in China, because that's where the things are assembled and put together. So we have to be careful about language here. So in response to this story, the spokesman for Trump Mobile said, T1 phones are probably being made in America. Speculation to the contrary is simply inaccurate. Let's see what actually happens here, because it's going to be important for them to prove this is the case. If they do something like Trump's ties, or I think even a Trump Bible, or something that they were made in China, this will not go down well with his base, and it will make them subject to ridicule from those who are antagonistic to him and his causes. It's going to be really, really important for them to prove this is the case. And if that spec sheet that they listed out is really going to hold, then that's also going to be important, because you can make this phone in America, but not the price that they suggest, which is what many people are saying. And if they are going to hold to that $499 price, then perhaps that spec list was more of a dream than a practicality, and they're going to have to cut corners that way. So the point seems to be that something has got to give, and let's see what that thing is. But again, being designed and being built are two different things, okay? Being assembled is part of being built. They're going to have to be careful about what actually happens here, because as the article suggests, there are no phones that are really being built in the US from start to finish. So let's see how this is being wordsmithed, and let's see where this goes. Okay. Our third story, yes, it involves Donald Trump again, but it involves the country I live in, Canada, and our neighbor down south, the United States. So the United States has apparently walked away from trade talks with Canada. And the reason, apparently, is the digital services tax that Canada is imposing. So according to the CBC, the digital services tax is a tax that affects mega companies that offer digital services like online advertising or shopping and earn more than $20 million in revenue from Canadian sources. Point being from Canadian sources, okay? Giant companies like Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Google, Meta, and Uber will be taxed 3% on the money they make from Canadian users and customers. This levy has been in place since last year, but the first payments are due starting Monday. So it's retroactive to 2022, so companies will end up with a $2 billion US bill due by the end of July. Now, this is causing the issue that we just talked about that Trump is upset about. He's saying this is grossly unfair, that Canada is copying the EU, that Canada is mistreating the United States, and all this good stuff. Wherever you stand on that, that's your problem. That's political. We're not going to get into that specifically. But the fact that the United States is walking away from trade talks with Canada over this seems a little much, because there's a lot that they need to discuss, and this is just one piece. This, I doubt, would be the sticking point in the relationship, and there's probably more going on here. But what we need to know is, like, similar to when there was an issue with the news, right? I don't believe that this will have similar repercussions to the Online News Act that came into effect 2 years ago, where companies like Meta and Google withdrew news availability to their platforms in Canada for a while. I know some of these companies negotiated with Canada and came to a conclusion. Meta has still not, from last that I remember. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I will put that somewhere up here with the headline. But this is going to obviously cause annoyance for these big digital services that are operating in Canada to some degree. Will they pull their services? No. The Canadian economy is not as big as the US, but it's big enough that they're going to comply. But they're going to make a lot of noise about the digital services tax, 100%. And will it last? We'll see. I think that Canada and the US are going to get some kind of mediation around this to some degree. Maybe they pull the retroactive part of it, or they reduce the tax, maybe. I think there'll be some negotiation on that, and the United States will come back. But you're going to hear a lot of noise. You're going to hear a lot of threats about disruptions to services. All those things you'll probably start to hear. So just look out for that. But let's see how this plays out. Okay, so those are our 3 stories for the week. Meta wants access to your camera roll. You might say yes, but you may not know why you said yes. Trump Mobile, is that T1 phone really being made in America? Mixed messages. And Trump is ending trade talks with Canada over a digital services tax. Let's see how it all plays out. Thanks for joining me. I hope you liked this video. Please leave a like, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I want to hear your thoughts on these stories, and please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the content that's going to be coming up. We're coming up with some really good stuff and launching a new podcast as well. So check that out, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Peace.
They wanna dunk on us in the pep night, yeah. Take our microphones and make us disappear. But you can never mess with our careers, cause we bring y'all the records of the year. And since we will always be here, we need to make y'all more aware.